It's 1976, and I'm in my classroom where I teach 7th and 8th graders, and this kid Butch yells out, "Zang, your desk, it's smoking!" And in fact, my desk was almost on fire. During lunch, I had stayed in the classroom. I smoked a cigarette. I lost track of time, and I realized the students were coming in, so I quickly snuffed out the cigarette and shoved the ashtray into my desk drawer. And 10 minutes later, my desk was smoking. It was my 3rd year teaching, and I had been hired to work with 7th and 8th graders who were non-readers. And after a disastrous first year, I proposed to the administration that we create an alternative class to meet the needs of some of these students. So I ended up with 12 7th graders in the morning and 12 8th graders in the afternoon. And as you might imagine, some of these kids were tough. You don't get to be 12, 13, 14 years of age and not read or perform very well in school and not have some strong feelings about that. My principal lovingly referred to my students as Anna's bananas, and as far as he was concerned, if they weren't swinging from the light fixtures or killing each other or killing me, then I was probably doing okay. And rumor had it that the school committee who had approved my proposal, well, they were making bets to see how long I'd last in that position. So, on the first day, we played a game. It was a role play, and I invited the angriest, most uncooperative kid, a boy named Skip, to be the teacher, and I was one of the students. And I proceeded to incite chaos. I was rude, disrespectful, disruptive, and when I encouraged everybody else to be the same, and when poor Skip couldn't take it any longer, his threats weren't working, and he was really just beside himself, I stopped the role play, and I explained that what we had all just participated in was called a power struggle. And the lesson was that nobody can control anybody else, and that I, as the teacher, I would be powerless to control them as a class. And if we didn't just decide to all be in this thing together, to work cooperatively, respectfully, productively, well then things would just be a mess. And I will assure you, we had some messy times. But invariably, somebody would call out, "Uh-oh, looks like we're having a power struggle." And we could regroup. These kids were amazing. And it's hard for me to believe that it was 50 years ago, but I still remember them fondly. Thank you. There was April. She was my cactus girl. She was tough and prickly on the outside, but soft and super sweet on the inside. And when she graduated, she gave me a cactus plant to remember her by. There was this kid, Chester. Chester was 15 in the 7th grade. He was 6'2", 250 pounds. He would lean back in his chair at his table because the desks were too small, and he would bellow, "Zanfagna, you aggravate me." To which I would reply, "Chester, I'm just doing my job." By the end of 8th grade, Chester was reading, writing book reports, and feeling pretty pleased with himself. There was Will. You see, every week, he was a jokester. Every week we would go on this field trip to a bowling alley just to work on math and social skills. And every week on the way out, Willie would steal a bowling ball. Just to get a laugh and for everybody to insist that he had to return it. There was Skip, remember Skip? That guy, he peed on the floor in the corner of the gymnasium when the PE teacher wouldn't allow him to use the restroom during his after-school detention. And Butch. After that smoking desk incident, Butch came up with a plan to help me quit smoking. He created a phone tree so that every night, one of my students would call me at home just to check in and ask, "Zang, did you smoke a cigarette today?" And after a while, it worked. And they were proud of me, but I was super proud of them. You know, most of these kids came up in very difficult family situations, and I really always hoped that they would grow up to have good lives. And I know that 2 of my boys ended up in prison for having committed violent crimes. But Chester, he actually became the head custodian at that school, and I understand that after a successful career, he recently retired. During the pandemic, April, my cactus girl, she found me, and she called. She told me that her young adult son had recently, tragically, died of an opioid overdose. And she said in the course of our conversation, she said that those years in junior high school when she was in my class, she felt that she had found a confidence and a strength that she could call upon during difficult times in her life. And I shared with her that the experience was mutual because that time as a young teacher with her class and those relationships really helped to shape my entire career in public education. Thank you.